Hey, hey, welcome back to The Good, the Bad, and the Techy, a podcast all about leading edge technology. I'm VP of Engagement, John Collins.
I'm COO, Howard Holton.
So this week, we're delighted to welcome Sara Polan from HashiCorp, and we're going to try and cut through the jargon and talk all about burning everything to the ground. So get your pitchforks and torches ready, and let's do it. That's probably my funnest intro ever, actually.
And we didn't mess it up.
We didn't mess it up, until such point someone points out that we didn't mess it up, which of course is the fourth wall is broken in shards on the ground, which is what we're here to do. And Sara, welcome. So I did say you'd get the chance to kind of introduce yourself. But what I normally do is I say, so what brought you here? And we'll be talking about something like, I don't know, incident management or something. But what brought you to burning it all down, Sara?
Well, music, obviously. No, in all fairness, I started in the music world and then pivoted into the technology world. And I think what I love about that is it gave me all of the basis of code and how do you put everything together and these different modular units, but it also gave me a very different perspective. So I'm not coming at it from, your typical computer science diploma. Well, I've picked those up later in life. It's not where I started. And so what it's led me to is burning it all down. So starting with software deployment and then security embedded in software deployments and then CTO work and sitting and looking at everything and going, oh, something's not working quite right here. So
if put it, I was going to say, let's put a bit of context on this, but I'm also thinking it could all come full circle because I can see you standing on top of a funeral pyre of what was tech, because you were an opera singer. So getting the pipes going on a full blast version of insert favorite opera here.
We could pull out some Hayako. I'm sure that would work.
Exactly. But when we're talking about it, I mean, and we talked about this a bit in the green room. We're still not able to deliver innovation the way we want to because there's just too much baggage, too much stuff, too much. I've had the enterprise described to me like the Death Star. It's just kind of, it's looks smooth on the outside, but it's massively complex with garbage dumpsters inside and so on and so forth. That's what we want to get rid of, right?
I think that's very apt. I think what we've seen, we started with something that was, well, by today's standards, more or less simple. And if you apply Moore's law, every year it basically doubles in complexity. So where we started 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I mean, even if you want to go all the way back to Ada Lovelace, think about the complexity now that's being built on top of everything. But we've also built into those things some enormous capabilities and capacities. And I think in some cases, we've probably duplicated those capabilities. So where we're standing is on something that's hyper complex, very interwoven, and we're not really sure how to make that more and more scalable so that we can reduce some of this cognitive load for developers. And so they're now not dealing with 15 different tools just for one single deployment. So how do we start rolling this out and making it better? And I think the only way to do that is really to start clearing out some of those cobwebs and looking at this in a much more holistic standpoint.
Well, I think that lack of holistic view is how we got there in the first place, right? More than anything else. We were distracted by the nice marketing posters that were along the holistic journey and went, oh, cool, so this does everything, only to find out it didn't do everything, didn't really do the thing it said it did, and ultimately no one explained how to use it. So even the value that it had, we never really fully got. Because we immediately got distracted by the next shiny poster and went, oh, cool, this thing does the other thing.
Exactly. But it's also like, oh, look at the shiny toy. Look at all the cool things that this can do. I really want to play with this and make something out of this and create something. Let me just shoehorn it into what's going on into this organization over here and build up this incredible tool that people can use. And now I'm going to leave and I'm going to go to the next organization and leave all the developers and the organization with this thing that doesn't solve a holistic problem, and they're going to have to deal with it and all of the spaghetti behind it. And once, that starts deprecating, well, good luck, So
that just became a really big conversation, because you just hit on something that's a pet peeve of mine, which is the lack of bidirectional loyalty. Right? I've traveled a lot, not as much as I want to, not as much as some people, but enough to know every place has something great you can take from it. I worked for a Japanese company for 3 years, and in Japan, you were expected to retire from the first company you work at. That is the expectation. That is the responsibility of the company more than your responsibility. It is not your responsibility to be loyal unidirectionally only, but rather the company is expected to care for you, promote you, and allow you to have a place to retire from in 30 or 40 years, right? It's an insane change. But one of the things that you talked about, I've worked at, 10 companies, let's say. It's probably an understatement, but 10 companies in my career. And without a doubt, I've received calls afterwards. Hey, I know you're not here anymore, but hey, that thing that it now broke. Can you help?
Yeah.
Right. The lack of bidirectional loyalty, and I've been in some cases too loyal, in some cases not loyal enough. Right. But no company's ever been loyal to me. I've had companies literally tell me, we have nowhere for you to go. You have to leave. It would be best if you just left.
It's hard, and it comes into that organizational psychology part of it. And I think that's also something as CTOs and technology people, we might probably, not even might, we put to the side too often, is how do I make sure that I have that trust with my team so that that is a healthy working environment. I think there are times absolutely people need to move on, and that's best really for everybody involved. But there are also times where we don't understand the full complexities of neuroscience, of teams, of making sure that people can continue to grow and really excel in what they're doing so that they can bring on these changes, so that they can really understand the holistic picture for organizations and continue to build these things out.
Well, it doesn't help when your average C-level has a 1.5 to 3 year life cycle.
No, I don't know how you can really push an agenda in a 1.5 years. If I look at, even as a field CTO, and kind of my job here is to go into different organizations and really be able to quickly assess what's going on, what's going wrong, how can we make sure that we're helping them move forward and do that strategic advisory. But if I look at how long it's taken me just to get up to speed to be able to do that in an effective way, it took almost a year before I felt comfortable doing that on a regular basis.
For sure.
I think now at almost 2 years, I'm into the groove where I really feel comfortable doing this, and I feel like I do have something to offer and something to say. And I can't imagine being in a position with an organization in 18 months being like, oh, nope, I'm done, on to the next.
Yeah, we see it a lot though, right? I had a similar role for Hitachi, right? Field CTO. And like, you go into organizations that are on fire and you basically throw some quick clot and get the death level bleeding to slow enough that you could come back. It takes 6 months just to put the fire out.
Yeah.
Right? But really, you're almost an arson investigator. Right? You get the fire out and you start investigating what caused this fire. And then you try to convince people, would you stop falling asleep with a cigarette in your mouth? Especially because your feet are in gasoline and you've got turpentine on the chair. Like this is not logical. This does not work. Would you please stop? And they go, I think you're wrong. And you go, okay, cool. I'll be back. It's going to catch on fire again. I'll just come back when it's on fire again and we'll do this all over again.
Right? And it's a plastic chair.
Right. And it's a plastic chair. And that's kind of modern organizations. Right? God forbid it's an enterprise where you have 24 different stakeholders for every decision.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then, okay, cool, let's burn it down and rebuild it. Great, we're going to use my tool set. No, we're going to use my tool set. No, we're going to use my tool set. No, okay, look, guys, we got into this situation because of this exact attitude. Mm-hmm. Can we please just put the egos at the door and decide we want to do what's right for the organization and for our teams and for our people.
Yeah.
There's something there's something I'm not quite following here. So bear with me. What I've seen with when people arrive in CIO, CTO kind of jobs, so change making kind of jobs, they'll go for the safer bet because they don't want, if they're only going to be around for a couple of years, they don't want the couple of years to be a failure based couple of years. They want to have big success. So it does make a kind of a tendency towards risk averse nature. Yeah. Whereas what we're also talking about is complexity. Oh crap, we've done it all again. My stupid analogy of the day is it's a bit like going to the pub on a Friday night saying, I'm definitely not going to get absolutely crap-faced tonight. I'm just going to go for a couple. And then there you are at 10:30 singing, swinging by a lamppost and You're My Best Friend Ever again. How do we keep getting into these cycles of, oh crap, I've done it again. I really didn't mean to. I thought I was being innovative. But at the same time, we're being risk averse. What's the?
Well, I think part of it actually is we say stupid things like best of breed, right? I want the best of breed. No, you don't need the best of breed. You didn't implement the best of breed the right way last time, right? What you actually need is you need the 80th percentile solution for 80% of the things that you do, right? Like what I need is I need to figure out what does a stack look like. Right? Like I need a container platform. I need a management platform. I need a network platform. I need a security platform. I need a CI/CD platform. I need all these things, these things that come together to make a platform. If we're being honest, 80% of the time, you need what 80% of the world chooses. And if we started there, instead of trying to go bespoke every damn time, right? One, you could still be risk adverse. 80% of the world chooses it means it's the right decision 80% of the time. The likelihood that you're not in that 80th percentile is pretty low when it's all said and done. And then when you go, the 80th percentile flat out doesn't work for us, great. 20% of the time, choose something bespoke. We'd probably end up 150% better than we are today. Right? Prove that consistency doesn't work, and we can talk. Don't come into the room saying consistency won't work.
Yeah, we have a problem.
I agree.
With commitment. Hit it.
Sarah. I think if you look at the the Japanese automotive industry from the 90s, the one pitfall that you really have to be careful about if you want to really succeed and grow an organization is, yes, you have to absolutely optimize your operations. I think that's just non-negotiable across the board, has to be done. But the Japanese auto industry actually got so good at optimizing their operations that they forgot to innovate, and they didn't take any risk at all. And so what happened to them was then they kind of fell off the curve. Now, the IT industry right now, I think we have an imbalance in the opposite direction. There's too much innovation, not enough optimizing. And I think what we need to do is exactly what you said, is look at, okay, what do you need to do? What is the general industry doing? Make those tweaks, make sure that you're optimized. And then when you're 70 to 80% of the way there, then you look at, how do I start innovating?
Well, I think the way we fix it is don't ever do another project. Like your platform isn't a project, it's a product. Right? The mix of those things creates a product, and a product requires constant, continual management. A project, once it's done, we just walk away. That tends to be the problem with them. Cool, that one's done, on to the next one. No. This is a product. Our platform is a product, and therefore we must constantly be on the lookout for where is this product not servicing us any longer. Right? I have a rule.
And customers and who are your stakeholders, whereas that project is just, I want to do it because it's fun and it's shiny. Back to your marketing point.
I want to do it for any number of things, none of which end up working, because by the time you're done with it, you found, hey, all those requirements, they actually changed over the 18 months of this project, and we never looked at them twice. Yep. Right? Agile project management was supposed to solve that. It never did. Right? It created a lot of stand-ups, it created a lot of bureaucracy, but it didn't solve the thing that it set out to solve in the beginning. which was, how do I make sure I'm constantly delivering to the thing my customer actually wishes they had, rather than the thing my customer said they had when they didn't understand the question to begin with. Right.
I'm actually
platforms are the same way.
I'm a huge fan of the product mindset rather than the project mindset, because it solves for. I mean, obviously, product management's hard. So it's not like kind of, oh, we're doing products now. Everyone just gets on, and the world's a wonderful place, and there's bunnies flopping around everywhere. But it's requirements management is always out of control, and we don't do it very well in the agile world. The whole notion of a roadmap it doesn't solve for it, but it certainly looks to address it.
But it also kind of solves for it if you think about it. The problem with requirements management is it's this big bang thing we feel like we have to get right at the beginning of the project. You know what I mean? And if instead you start with, we're going to look at this as requirements management for a product, which means we're constantly going to be revisiting it on a roadmap. We can start with, what are the 4 or 5 fundamental things that must exist for this to be a viable solution to the problem?
Absolutely.
Right. And we must get it down to whatever the number is, right? Always sub 10, right? You get into the 11th and all of a sudden you find 11 conflicts with number 2 and you're never going to get it done. But the same thing should be true in kind of everything we do, right? I had a rule managing IT, no more than 2 years for any system to exist without a complete refresh. And there were 2 reasons for that, 2 big reasons. The first was I got tired of these sacred cows that no one knew how to manage, because the person that implemented it left 5 years ago and we hadn't touched it. And now we're sacrificing goats on the high moon so that it comes back up after a reboot, kind of, just these bizarre things. Don't touch it. Whatever you do, don't touch it. Only Phil knows about it. Phil's not sober right now, but we keep Phil around because Phil only knows that program. I have worked with that Phil.
They do that in Denver. They sacrifice goats.
Yes. Sorry, it's a Denver thing.
Yeah.
But then the other reason is it allows us every 2 years to start the cycle of questioning again. Right? Does this do what we set out to do with it? Do we even need it anymore? The number of times where we've had something running that provides a service that the business unit deprecated, and yet no one told IT, hey, does this thing actually do the thing it's supposed to do? Oh, we stopped using that like 2 years ago. So we've been maintaining it for no apparent reason. Yeah, apparently. I mean, we haven't touched it, right? And then the other thing, which is, I mean, it worked okay, but once we got into it, we found 3 months in, it actually doesn't do these 4 things that we'd really like to do. So now we're doing those 4 things in a different system, in a different way, right? And it gives you the ability to go, okay, cool. So now that we've questioned, this tool doesn't work anymore, or this implementation doesn't work anymore, or it's just not used at all, or it works perfectly fine. The customer's very happy with it. We can continue moving forward with it, whatever it happens to be, right? I find that 2-year cycle is about the right cycle. It also is 1 year in front of your 3-year standard contract length, right? So if you start questioning, you come up upon that and you go, crap, we have to figure out something else. I have 12 months to figure out something else before the contract ends.
I think that makes a huge amount of sense to me, both the contract side of things, but then, based off of what you're saying, what are the cost implications as well for all of these systems that are just completely redundant, aren't in use, but yet we're still running full infrastructure for them? And what does that do for you at the end of the day if you have the control to be able to kind of shut that down, or say, yeah, no, we're just making that as minimal as humanly possible so that footprint doesn't even exist? And also, from a European standpoint, as we get more into ESG and these requirements around sustainable computing, things like that are going to become more and more critical. And in order to be able to even just be baseline compliant, you're going to have to know where things are running and how things are running. And so this idea of just running it for the sake of running, again, it's not going to work. And the number of times also I've gone in and just asked people, why are you doing this? And nobody can tell me. It's really shocking. And we're not talking about small companies. We're talking about, global 500 companies where you say, well, why are you moving to cloud anyways? Why do you want to use containers? And people can't give you any valid business reason other than they told me to, or we cut a deal with, name your cloud provider here.
Yep. Yeah, I had a client, they had committed to $25 million over 5 years of AWS spend. Yeah. So I talked to them at month 11 They had $85,000 spent of the first $5 million with 1 month to go before the bill came due.
Oh yeah.
Right. Well, and I'm like, why you do? Well, we have a new CIO, and the new CIO signed this contract, and we're a cloud only company now. And I went, great. Other than the back of a cereal box, what does that actually mean? And I don't know. I have no idea. None of our stuff is cloud ready. I have nobody trained. Nobody. Like, that $25 million included $0 for organizational change control, which includes training your engineers. Right? I went, cool. What about your operating model? What do you mean operating model? Okay. Every organization operates with an operating model, whether it's documented or not. It's kind of like culture. Every company has a culture, whether you've documented it or not. Right? So have you looked at how your operating model needs to change for cloud? Oh, no. We haven't done any of that. Right? And cloud is a huge one for me, because cloud, I actually think is where we need to take the torches. Right?
Yeah.
I don't think cloud's bad.
No. I think there's huge use for cloud, and I think absolutely, just especially if you want to be agile, if you want to be able to have that elasticity within your deployments, that is absolutely.
But that's it.
How you
that's
should,
it, right? Like I want to be able to be agile. I want to be able to take advantage of technology in the right way as soon as the technology is available, and be able to switch to the correct technology for the use case at the time as that evolves. Perfect. Yeah. Cloud is perfect for that. That's what it's built for.
Yeah,
exactly. I have elastic workflow. I have elastic workloads that I need to take advantage of, as in they will grow and shrink, not just grow. Great. Cloud is great for that. Everything else, you really have to question, is cloud the right place to do this? Now, cloud is also great for modernization. Right? Cloud is terrible for lift and shift. Cloud is terrible for running it as though it is a data center managed by someone else. Cloud is great for modernization. So if you have workloads where you've struggled to do the modernization in your own data centers, moving to cloud, burning the data center down, modernizing the data center, and bringing back from cloud, those non-elastic workloads, those sustained workloads, fantastic. You can still run your data center using all the modernization that's in cloud, and probably should. Right? Yeah. But too often I see, why are you going to cloud? Oh, it's cost savings. No, it's not. No, not even a little bit. Not in any way. Right? You're not going to get the cost savings that you think, because you haven't done the other things. You haven't trained your people. You haven't changed your operating model. You haven't focused on agility and elasticity. You're still building sacred cows. You haven't moved to a cattle-only mentality.
There's a fundamental need to come back on the cattle only thing, because that's the thing. But before we do, there's a fundamental issue here, which is that lack of commitment that comes with when you said best of breed earlier, Howard. It was like, well, best of breed is actually not being able to commit to a single answer. So how about we have multiple answers, and then you kind of hedge it. You're constantly hedging, but that lack of commitment also goes with a lack of certainty and a lack of decisiveness and a lack of specificity around decisions. Cloud's great if you're being agile and you kind of going, right, I know I need this. Let's bang a solution up like that. Let's build that POC. Great, didn't work. Fantastic. Let's try something else, fail fast and all that. It's not very good if you're not committing, because you'd never get to the point where you're actually spending the money that it's costing. So there you go.
That's true, right? Cloud economics don't work if you don't commit either.
Having worked in financial services, and also going back to this point that you were making about the Japanese not leaving within Europe as well, it's one of those unspoken rules that, you stay at a job for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. And so one of the challenges I see as well is this cultural shift, and trying to get people to understand that, yes, innately the technologies are similar. They have, they align. What we do a lot of the time as well from a processes or operational standpoint, also quite similar. They're fundamentally different. And to get that cultural shift in place, and to have people understand that you really do need to look at it differently, and you need to come at it from a more business-oriented angle. That's the part that I find the most challenging. I think it's really just almost impossible sometimes to get people to come along, especially if they aren't invested in their own learning and their own growth. And likewise, if that's not a value of the organization, to have, pushed that along, to have said, we really want you to continue to grow, pick a subject, we're going to write it into your KPIs, however you want to go about that. But getting the mentality switch, as well as understanding why you're doing things, I think it's almost, yeah.
With that in mind, I mean, where do we put the torches? Well, if it's inertia about existing kit, sure. I mean, it's easy to burn a data center down, although not too great for ESG. But it's relatively straightforward. There it is, sitting there. We've already got the backup generator, so we've got the gasoline. But if it's more of a culture change, what do we destroy in order to create? How do we get there? If we want to remove what the problem is, what problem can we remove?
I think company culture. I think it has to start with company culture, and it has to start with not leading with why. So if you start on the people side of things and you start burning that down, leadership, even though that puts my own head on the block. Yeah, I say leadership.
So that was a double negative, and I want to pull it out. So it's about not leading with, it's about not leading with why. We need to lead with why. We need to question everything. We
need to question and understand what our goals and our strategies are as leaders and as organizations. Why are we there to deliver what we want to? And, are our values innovation, or are our values, transparency? You can have all of these different values, but it's about what aligns with what you do and who you are as a culture. And then how do you as leaders then propagate that forward?
I think there's a piece of even job definition that needs to be kind of brought into it. I had a conversation yesterday that what occurred to me is middle management is the place where hopes and dreams go to die. Right? When you talk to middle managers and you go, what is the value you provide? You generally get blank looks or MBA based BS. Right? They frankly don't know. Right? And I think if we start with, okay, cool, your new job is you are a client success engineer. That's 100% of your job. And your clients are the people who work for you and the people that you are designed to serve, that your organizational unit is designed to serve. Right? So your job is to make sure that your people are successful and find success and have success, and that they carry that success forward to the customers to which they serve. Today, middle management does none of that. That change alone, I think, would be such a fundamentally positive change for what we do and what we're working towards, that I think it would accomplish a lot of what we're talking about, because it immediately brings forward all of the connotation that goes along with it, right, and all of the change that goes along with it. If my job is to make sure that you are successful and that you're carrying that success forward to your customers, and my job is to bulldoze everything out of the way that doesn't do that, right? All of a sudden, all of these questions now become my problem instead of the noise that I'm trying to ignore.
There was a wonderful epiphany I used to have when I was a business analyst with people, where when you start with the notion of services, and and when you start saying, so what are you delivering to other people? Then it links directly back into computer systems and then into the internals of computer systems. And it, to extrapolate to now, I've never built a Kubernetes-based microservices application, but I'm pretty sure the diagramming stays the same in terms of sequence diagrams and so on and so forth of that service request, that response, and it all bundles up to then go back so you can actually help the person you're trying to help. So you get this massive traceability all the way down into the innards of the computer, or the big computer in the sky, to say, you asked for this, there you go. It's the kind of cash point scenario. Whatever's going on behind the scenes, you just want the money out. and that's a win when you get the money out.
It all boils down to people, processes, and technology, and how do those all intertwine and to deliver whatever you're trying to deliver, wherever you're trying to deliver it, whether it's on microservices or a giant monolith. I'm not sure that matters as much as how you go about doing that and making sure that it's responding to a specific problem that you're trying to solve.
So I'm putting my pitchfork into, I want to say, the entitlement, the kind of the inertia caused by people doing stuff because they always have, and just that kind of the Six Sigma kind of, well, we know how to talk about this stuff now, so it must be right, without ever questioning. So my pitchfork is a question.
Yes, Six Sigma needs to go back to the factory floor and stay there and never leave. It was designed for production factories, physical factories making physical products. It works really well for that, and it's atrocious for everything else. So please stop it, everyone.
Just stop that thing. There you go. Any wrapping up thoughts, Sarah?
I love talking with both of you. I think it's just, for me, it's always so enlightening, and being able to just spar. I think, Howard, you're dead on with the middle management, and John also, in terms of things haven't changed so much technically, just complexity wise. So yeah, I'm very happy to have this conversation with you guys, and looking forward to seeing.
We're supposed to do the thank yous. You know that. That's. I was literally had that lined up. So as delighted it is to speak to you, and love to have you back sometime.
I'm a visionary. What can I know?
Yeah.
So if people want to get a hold of you, Sarah, where can they find you?
LinkedIn's the easiest. I stay away from social media except for LinkedIn. So.
Same. I'm forced on LinkedIn, and therefore LinkedIn is the only social media that I manage.
Exactly. It's about all that I have the capacity to manage as well. So.
Excellent. Well, this has been a lot of fun. This has been another episode of The Good, The Bad, and The Techy. Please like, subscribe, follow, share, comment. If you'd like to be on, let us know. If you'd like us to talk about something specific, also let us know. We're always happy to hear from our fans, our followers, and our haters. So again, we'll see you on next week's episode of The Good, The Bad, and The Techy. Thanks again.